voice is an ancient voice from the Middle East that has no particular author, but begins like this. The power sent me. I appear in the minds I make restless. I am found within by those who look for me. If I disturb your mind with images, why not look at them? If you can hear me in a sound, why not listen? Whoever waits for me, here I am, embrace me. Don't deny you've seen me. Don't shut my sound out of your ears or out of your voice. You cannot fail to know me anywhere, anytime, for I am both what knows and I am what denies knowledge. Be aware this moment. Don't claim ignorance of this mind. I am the silence not grasped by the mind, the image you can't forget. I am the voice of every natural sound. I am the voice of every natural sound, the word that always reappears. I am she who shudders in all of your fears and who shakes in your moments of power. I am the one in you who becomes sick, and I am the one in you who is always completely healthy. I am no sensation, and I am the sense, the wisdom of all. So this ritual voice, this visionary voice, which many scholars now associate with an ancient voice of holy wisdom, the same holy wisdom that we find in the biblical book of Proverbs, could as well stand for the voice of the entire Middle East, as we hear it outside of us and as it resounds from inside of us. I tend to look at the Middle East as not just what is happening in a particular place on the planet, but also as a particular location or a community of voices that arise from within us. In actual fact, the Middle East is really a puzzle for the Western world, or it's a problem, or it's a challenge, or perhaps it's even an opportunity. As we read the headlines, one isn't really sure exactly what the Middle East is, or in fact where it is. Where does the Middle East stop, and where does it begin? And why is it called the Middle East in the first place? Because it's not a continent, it's not a particular group of countries. It's middle in relationship to whom? To us, who are the West, or the East? And in fact, where is West and East on a planet that is completely round? So you could say, if you really want to get exact about the geography, the Middle East is a sort of state of mind. But we do know some things about what we generally call the Middle East. Geologically, the Middle East, or at least the center of the Middle East, which runs through Israel-Palestine, is an extension of the Great Rift Valley, which runs up through Africa, and where we find three tectonic plates of three different continents pressing together with an enormous amount of geological, you could say, volcanic energy. And some people have speculated that these pressing together of these three plates on the planet, which is a highly volcanic, highly earthquake-prone region, somehow has produced this very volatile, pressurized region out of which, surprisingly or perhaps not surprisingly, many visionary voices have appeared. Is the Middle East a place? Is it a state of mind? Is it simply what we regard as a place between? In any case, out of the Middle East, or what we call the Middle East, we have drawn what we ordinarily call Western religion, whether that is Western religion in its form as Christianity, Western religion, as we might call it, as a form of Judaism. But in some ways, the West, rather than staying with its own religion, or you could say the religion of the indigenous peoples of North South America, has chosen to extract its, so to speak, Western religion from another part of the planet. And this process began, quite a while ago. More recently, we returned to the Middle East to extract another sort of resource, which is oil. You could say first the spiritual energy, then a more material energy, which we have been using to, you could say, power our lifestyle for a great number of years. What, in fact, is the Middle East? What does the Middle East mean for us? What do its voices have to tell us? Why has it become this problem, challenge, opportunity, this polarized place, not only in our news headlines, but you could say in our psyches? I suppose the main question that has arisen for me over the many years is simply this question of meaning. What are the voices of the Middle East trying to tell us? And how do they reflect, you could say, inner voices within us, which we have not been hearing clearly? So how is the outer Middle East reflected in what we could at least poetically speak of as the inner Middle East? Have we really heard these voices? Or have we simply heard filtered forms of them? I would maintain the latter. Let's take the case of our friend Jesus, who has been the subject of a greater part of my work. Jesus, as we know, spoke a Middle Eastern language. Most people know this now from Mel Gibson's work, if from no one else. If not from mine, I hope it's rather than from mine than rather than from Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ. But Jesus spoke a Middle Eastern language called Aramaic. Jesus, for instance, says in the canonical Gospels, a good tree bears good fruit, an evil tree bears evil fruit. What did he mean actually by this? Are we talking about a badly behaving tree? Are we talking about a tree that did not believe certain concepts which would qualify it as a good tree? Are we talking about a tree that was evil from the very beginning, that was predestined to some sort of evil behavior? Well, this sort of problem is solved very easily in the Aramaic language, because if Jesus said this statement, I believe he did, Aramaic uses two words, tub and bisha. Tub is the word that is translated as goodness, but is really in its Aramaic sense meaning ripeness. Ripeness. Bisha is a word that would be literally translated as unripeness. So Jesus, if he said this statement, is really saying a ripe tree bears ripe fruit, and an unripe tree bears unripe fruit, which is another way of saying if you want to look at life and how life works and how your life can work, look at nature around you. It's a simple statement. It has nothing to do with predestination. It has nothing to do with beliefs in particular creeds or in believing, in fact, even in Jesus himself. Even in the farthest flung imagination of Middle Eastern mythology, a tree could never be accused of wrongly believing in a particular messenger or prophet.